Hi, I'm Vadd, and July was a mix of wins, misses, and a few surprises. Not everything I invested time in turned into a full video. Here now, this video is a casual recap of what I played, what stuck with me, and some things I may not have already mentioned. This month was the full 1.0 release of Palworld. It is no longer an early access title. Here in 1.0, it finally gives the game a real endgame, but I think because of that, most all the meaningful new content is heavily backloaded. I think a lot of returning players are going to be surprised they're going to have to work through a largely familiar early and mid game before they reach the world tree and all the additions that I feel like make the full release really substantial. Ultimately, Palworld's probably still the game of the year. It is an excellent game that has set the bar, raised the bar for all other games in that open world survival creature collecting automation genre. Facts are, it's just an easy one to recommend when the core of the game, that survival collecting automation loop, just appeals to you. I don't think it's going to convert anyone new if you already dislike the opening hours. You know, this 1.0 release doesn't mean it's a brand new game. It just means the early access period is over and it's officially feature complete. I really hope the developers go on to a new project. I don't want more expansions and DLC for Palworld. I like Palworld a lot. It's one of the very few games in the last 5 years I've replayed. If you know anything about me, I very rarely are motivated to replay a game, but Palworld I've run through a couple of times, which is very unusual. I really like this game. I've got lots of positive things to say about it, and I think it is big enough. It is a big game, and it's time for the developers to take the lessons they learned, take some new ideas, and get back to the drawing board and make something new. Curiously enough, this month also had us spend a little bit of time in Grand Theft Online. GTA 6 is right around the corner. However, GTA Online is not currently slated to be shut down or even limited. Actually, all the marketing material for Grand Theft Auto 6 very clearly leaves out things like their online world. So it's a little bit here in July, a question mark how they're going to treat that. There's a new heist. There's a new heist here in Grand Theft Auto Online, which is tied to GTA 5. It was an art center heist. It revolves around breaking into this art museum and you steal some valuable paintings, then you go and sell it, or you can display it in your mansion. I think it's a good addition to the game as it adds another way you can flex. You know, a lot of the things you buy are kind of utility purchases. And once you finish buying utility purchases, then there's things to flex. But there's very few ways to like buy a thing and then flex with it. It's just something I feel like that surprisingly Grand Theft Auto Online is missing. The fact that you can work in this weekly rotation of stealing these art pieces and then covering your mansion with it where other players can see, I think it's a good addition to the game, even if it has absolutely zero appeal for it. Ultimately, this is an absolutely terrible addition to the game because it costs so much money to get into that it's really only for late game, end game players, and these are the players that aren't really trying to grind daily missions anymore. If you're truly a grinder and this is your daily game, it adds another thing to go grind. But this update also nerfed literally everything, and GTA Online has really moved into that this is now a second job position. Earlier on, I feel like you could make the argument you could load in once or twice a week and make real progress, but today, where the game is now, everything is so wildly expensive. They've straight nerfed every money-making thing they've added in, week after month after update after update. On some level, the game's never been in a better state, but on another level, it's never been in a worse state. Really tough to recommend for anyone into. This month also had me spend some time in Runescape Dragonwilds. This is a survival crafting game that takes kind of traditional RuneScape skills, creatures, quest, magic, plops it down into this explorable open world. It's got resource gathering, base building. The leveling will feel kind of familiar if you know RuneScape, but you're going to be doing a lot of crafting and learning spells, and ultimately you're supposed to defeat some dragons. I haven't got very far into this one, as the facts are it's still early access, and the roadmap has a lot of stuff they're still adding to the game. I kind of keep my eye on it every few months just to see how they're doing, and it seems like they're getting very close to their 1.0 release, as they gave a full release. They said they'll leave early access in just a couple of short months here. It's a very grindy game. It's a very tough game. I don't know that I'll complete a journey in this game, as the opening hours are tough. Not because they're punishing, they're just asking for a big time commitment, and I just don't know if I can do that. This month I spent some time in Mad Max. This is a wasteland power fantasy that's kind of buried beneath this repetitive open world structure. It's got some really fun vehicle combat. I love the atmosphere, the progression, and just the sense of you're gradually building up your vehicle. On top of that, you're clearing all these camps, and they just get really repetitive. All the side activity just becomes routine. Ultimately, I think it's an experience that works considerably better when you focus on the main story and only engage with the strongest, most compelling side content. You know, the longer I spent in Mad Max, the less and less I wanted to be there, which was so sad because I enjoyed my time. There was something super demoralizing about kind of setting up a little base and getting your mechanic together, getting your scrap coming in, and then going to the next region and doing it a second time, and then going to the next region and doing it a third time, and then going to the next region and doing it a fourth time. It just got really grindy, and it was really grim. I had a really tough time kind of stomaching it, as it really is just a brutal world that I never want to. There's just people who are having a bad day, hurting other people, having worse days. I just don't like that. There's a lot of body horror stuff in the environment and the atmosphere, and I had a tough time with this one because I like the gameplay and the setting felt on brand, but darn, there's only so many pools of blood and body parts I want to wade through in a given play session. I picked up two little games just for me this month. One was called Fogpiercer and the other was kind of Rogue Realm Guardian Grids, kind of a mouthful here. And they were both these tactical combat, tower defense games. You know, Fogpiercer, you're this train and you're trying to manipulate enemy positions. You're trying to create collisions because you're all moving on a track. There are these bandits, and there's this huge chain reaction that is just so satisfying when it worked out. But the runs were crazy long. The unlocks were absurdly slow, and everything was so expensive. It had this fun little movement system, but it cost way too much to. And then all the like gimmicky enemies, they would teach you how to, you know, move enemies with a crane or a trigger or a pulley or whatever, and then they'd immediately introduce an enemy that restricted that game. It was kind of mind-boggling how hard the game worked to get in front of itself and trip over its own legs. Actually, the first like 5 big like news updates, patch updates, what we're working on updates were all quite literally, we're going to make everything 50% easier to unlock. We're going to make bosses 50% easier and runs 50% shorter. I'm summarizing, but it was kind of crazy how absurdly grindy this game launched as, how impossible it was to really get into, and then how they wound that all back almost in the opening. It was kind of crazy that it got to that point. There's a fun game there, but darn, it's just not for everyone. Kind of like Rogue Realms. I found the visuals, the art style of Rogue Realms super off-putting, but it was a really affordable, accessible tower defense game that kind of got all the basics right. Ultimately, it had this good balance between building economy buildings or surviving the next wave to build more towers, and you had this kind of limited mazing system, but there's also this diluted upgrade where like later in the game, your decisions just kind of felt automatic because there was a best in slot tower. There was a best place to put. Your economy was already, you know, for me, like I said, I think it really got a lot of the basics right. You know, Rogue Realm is just a compact, relaxing tower defense experience, but it's definitely not as deep or endlessly replayable as I think some people are going to want. You know, I had fun with it, but I had my fun. I don't really feel like going back and grinding out every little corner of every little level that I didn't perfectly 3-star because I leaked one little unit or I didn't go into endless mode forever. It's a good game at the right price. It's even a good game for lots of people that might not even like tower defense games. I just didn't love the art style, and you can sit there and go, well, that's not fair. Okay, well, if you saw my review, it doesn't factor in the review my personal bias towards I don't like the visuals, but I just wanted something that was a little more visually clear. This one felt a little blurry sometimes. Maybe I was just getting tired. Darn, I like that game, but I also was kind of like, I wanted just a little more, even though it did so much rep. This month of July had me Gothic 1. I gotta tell you here and now, I think the Gothic 1 remake preserves the brilliance and the frustration of the original game. You have these reactive factions, you have meaningful discovery, you have this refusal to guide players. You know, it's truly just an unusually immersive RPG, but at the same time, there's very shallow combat, there's uneven pacing, you're going to be grinding, the second half is so much weaker than the first half, and you don't really realize you're at the plus 50% point. Like, you think you're still kind of in the early game, but like you're deep in the mid game and it's about to, you know, I think there's serious performance problems. It's crazy. I was looking through bunch of Steam reviews, and it was a coin flip. You know, Steam reviews will let you see if what someone's hardware is, and people with much worse hardware than me had no complaints, you know, as far as just raw power and whatnot. And like, my drivers are up to date. Don't be on my case. Like, did you update your drivers? Yes, everything's updated. I've got a workhorse here that's ready to run, and this game did not want to do the right thing. It just had so many quest breaking bugs. The one that made me so mad was Gomez, the leader of the old camp. I couldn't find this dude anywhere. He had fallen through the floor. Like, I eventually found his feet sticking up through the floor. I was so mad. I could not believe it. I kept like, the whole camp was aggroed on me. I'd walk through the gates, no problem. Walk through the second gates in old camp into like the inner keep, no problem. Pass by some random no-name guard. I have no weapons out. I haven't stolen anything. I was just out in the wilds on a mission. Dude aggroes me. The whole camp loses. And kind of that insult to injury, the final boss, the sound was ruined. I was in the final boss fight, and instead of like the sounds of combat and whatnot, it just switched over to the environmental sounds. I was so mad. I know that several of the, like, we're 3 or 4 patches into the Gothic 1 remake now, and all of them are like, hey, bug fixes and improvements, keep reporting them. And I'm sitting here going, you know, I don't know how hard this is to do, but I do know this experience could have been so much better with just a little more polish. Because the facts are, I think there's like thousands and thousands of people who are not encountering these experiences. But I'm telling you right now, maybe it's a sample size of just me, but I had so many game-breaking bugs. It's like the Immortal Follower. There was a follow mission that bugged out, and I could not get rid of this Immortal Digger. Just the Immortal Dig would not. I threw him in lava. I threw him down every chasm I could. I locked him in a cell. I left him with animals to eat him. Dude just kept coming back. I think it's maybe tied to the scavenger. I would like call in my mount and he'd show up. I don't know. I was so mad because there's a good game there, and it's absolutely being held back by performance, by technical problems, by quest breaking bugs. I mean, it was just sad. It was just sad. Facts are, I still recommend the game. I have this hope, this dream, this expectation that my experience is not going to be the majority of people's experience, and there's a good game there that with the updated visuals, this remake will really appeal to a broader audience. I would like show up in Gomez's room, middle of the night, beat him up and leave, no aggro. I'd like punch out a guard, run 1 room away, no aggro. I'd walk in the base, whole base aggro. It's just crazy. It's crazy. I could not figure it out. I got to the point in my run where I was just killing every guard I could find. I was like, it's over, dude. I'm not talking to you. I don't know what you're doing. You're not even mad at me. I just got to start killing you guys because eventually one of you is going to randomly lose your mind, you lunatics. One other crazy thing that happened this month was I downloaded Final Fantasy X, and I got all set up to record it. I just stopped. This year is 2026, and the finale of this year for December, I'm planning on doing Final Fantasy 16 on my playthroughs channel. I think that'll be lots and lots of fun. But I got to tell you, I was thinking maybe next December, like year end, I do another Final Fantasy, and I downloaded Final Fantasy X and I played the opening 30 seconds. I could not get my guy off the boat. There were no button prompts. I was like, dude, this is a problem for another month. This is a busy month with Palworld, Runescape, Dragonwilds, new GTA Online heist, Mad Max, and the Gothic 1 remake. This month was crazy, and I just couldn't get through more of Final Fantasy X. Is that the right one to do next? Should I bother? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted at this point. It's definitely one I was looking at going, man, this kind of looks like a fun story, just like reading like a 1-sentence synopsis, but we'll see how it works out. And on the Steam Deck, I've been testing out, you know, Ball Pit and Vampire Survivors, just things that are definitely going to work and run nicely there, but I haven't done personally hands-on, so I'm going to make sure I spend some time on that before I come to a conclusion. But I mean, so far they're just flawless, which why would it? How about you? What do you have going on this month with Journey? What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you gaming? Let's just talk about all things month of July, just looking back here in the comments. Leave me a comment, let me know. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Vadd. I will see you in the next one.